Imagine a courtroom. Two skilled lawyers stand before the judge. Each is determined to prove the other wrong. Every statement is challenged. Every weakness is exposed. Every mistake becomes another opportunity to score a point. When the verdict is announced, one side celebrates, the other walks away defeated. That is exactly how a courtroom is supposed to work. But imagine bringing that same mentality into your marriage. Every disagreement becomes a debate. Every conversation becomes a contest. Every misunderstanding becomes another chance to prove your intelligence, your memory, or your logic. Eventually, someone wins. But strangely, no one feels happier, no one feels closer, no one feels safer. The argument may be over, yet the emotional distance has only grown. An old African proverb says, "When elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers." In marriage, the husband and wife may think they are fighting each other, but the real casualty is often the relationship itself. Trust is trampled, affection is weakened, friendship is bruised, children quietly absorb the tension, and love, though still present, begins to carry unnecessary scars. The mature husband eventually discovers one of the greatest paradoxes of marriage. You can win an argument and still lose something far more valuable. That is why the 8 timeless law is this: a wise husband values connection above being correct. Special greetings to all Honorable Guild members, wherever you're watching us from around the world. I welcome you to this edition of our ongoing series on the 10 best timeless secrets of matrimony as applicable to men. Today, we shall be discussing law number 8, which is winning arguments can cost you your marriage. But before then, please kindly take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Also tap on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Thank you. On the first point of note, let's touch on a very vital principle. Being right is not the same as building a relationship. In other words, you might be losing something far more valuable by winning an argument. Many husbands have been taught that competence is measured by having the right answers. At work, this often serves them well. Good decisions improve businesses. Correct judgments prevent costly mistakes. Strong reasoning earns promotions and respect. But marriage is not a competition of intellect. It is a relationship of partnership. Your wife is not grading your debating skills. She is just asking a deeper question. When we disagree, do I still matter to you? That question cannot be answered by superior logic alone. It is answered through empathy, patience, and emotional safety. Relationship researchers have long found that the healthiest marriages are not those in which one spouse consistently prevails during disagreements. Rather, they are those in which both partners feel respected, understood, and valued even when they continue to disagree. Lasting intimacy depends less on winning and more on preserving emotional connection. The mature husband understands this distinction. His goal is not to leave the conversation saying, "I proved my point." His goal is to leave the conversation knowing we protected our relationship. Point number 2, why men often fall into the winning trap. There is something deeply satisfying about proving ourselves right. The human mind enjoys certainty. It enjoys validation. It enjoys hearing, "You were right all along." But marriage quietly asks a different question. What did being right cost you? Did it cost your wife's willingness to be vulnerable? Did it cost her confidence in bringing concerns to you? Did it cost the warmth that once existed between you? Did it cost tomorrow's conversation because today's ended in humiliation? An old Scottish proverb wisely says, "Better bend than break." The husband who insists on winning every disagreement often discovers that something else begins to break. Not because his arguments are incorrect, but because his priorities have become misplaced. What then should be the best practice? Learn the difference between solving and scoring. Imagine 2 husbands discussing the same issue with their wives. The first husband listens only long enough to prepare his response. He interrupts, he cites old conversations. He recalls dates and details with remarkable precision. Every sentence becomes evidence. Every memory becomes a weapon. When the discussion ends, he proudly concludes, "See, I told you I was right." The second husband takes a different approach. He still explains his perspective. He still expresses his concerns. But throughout the conversation, he remains focused on understanding rather than defeating. Instead of asking, "How do I prove my case?" he quietly asks himself, "How do we solve this together?" That single question transforms the entire atmosphere. One husband behaves like a prosecutor. The other behaves like a partner. An old Chinese proverb teaches, if you want 100 years of harmony, care for the people. In marriage, caring for the relationship is always more important than collecting victories. For example, let's look at a case of a vacation that became a lesson. For months, Daniel insisted that their family should spend their annual vacation at a mountain resort. His wife preferred the coast. She explained her reasons. He dismissed them one by one. By the end of the discussion, Daniel had presented stronger arguments. He had compared prices, travel times, activities, weather. Eventually, his wife sighed. "Fine, we'll do it your way." Daniel smiled. He believed he had won. But throughout the vacation, something felt different. His wife participated politely. She smiled for photographs, yet she seemed emotionally distant. On the drive home, she quietly admitted, "It wasn't about the destination. It was about feeling like my opinion never really mattered." Daniel suddenly understood he had won the decision, but he had lost something far more valuable: her sense of partnership. From then on, every major family decision became a conversation, not a presentation. For example, let's consider a case of a forgotten promise. Michael promised he would repair the leaking kitchen sink before the weekend. Saturday came and went. The sink remained broken. His wife reminded him. Instead of acknowledging it, Michael immediately began defending himself. "I've been busy. I've had meetings. I've been exhausted. You don't understand how much pressure I'm under." Technically, every statement was true, but none of them addressed the issue. Finally, his wife quietly said, "I'm not asking you to win this conversation. I'm asking you to keep your word." Those words stayed with him. The next morning, he repaired the sink. Then he sat beside her. "I spent more energy defending myself than simply doing what I promised. You deserve better." That conversation marked the beginning of a new habit. Whenever conflict arose, Michael first asked, "Am I trying to solve the problem or protect my image?" That single question changed the way he approached every disagreement thereafter. As an old Kenyan proverb says, "The one who is destined for greatness learns before he teaches." Point number 4, the hidden cost of always needing the last word. Some husbands cannot allow a conversation to end unless they have spoken last. Even after the disagreement appears settled, they feel compelled to make one final point, one final correction, one final reminder, one final victory. Unfortunately, those last words often become the first words of the next argument. Communication scholars have observed, conversations characterized by continual one-upmanship and competitiveness are more likely to escalate and less likely to produce mutually satisfying outcomes. The healthiest couples know when enough has been said. Sometimes wisdom sounds like this: "I think we've both shared our perspectives. Let's reflect on this and continue tomorrow if we need to." Silence, when chosen with maturity, can preserve more peace than another perfectly crafted argument. An old French proverb says, "The tongue has no shield. Once words are spoken, they cannot be recalled." Point number 5, when your wife feels safe to disagree. One of the clearest signs of a healthy marriage is not the absence of disagreement, it is the presence of emotional safety. Can your wife express a different opinion without fearing ridicule? Can she challenge an idea without expecting punishment? Can she say, "I think you're mistaken," and still feel respected? If the answer is yes, you have created something precious. Psychologists describe emotionally safe relationships as those in which both partners feel free to express thoughts, emotions, and concerns without fear of humiliation or retaliation. Such relationships are consistently associated with higher levels of trust, cooperation, and long-term satisfaction. The mature husband understands that agreement is not the foundation of unity. Respect is. Let's take a look at some transformation that begins to happen. Imagine looking back on 30 years of marriage. You remember disagreements, financial setbacks, career changes, parenting challenges, health scares, family tensions, but one memory stands above the rest. No matter how difficult life became, you always knew you were on the same team. That is the transformation this law produces. The mature husband gradually stops asking, "How do I win?" Instead, he asks, "How do we grow?" That single shift changes every conflict. Instead of competing, you collaborate. Instead of proving, you listen. Instead of defeating, you strengthen. Instead of collecting victory, you build trust. And trust becomes far more valuable than being declared right. Let's look at some practical habits every husband should develop in line of this 8 law. To ensure that winning never becomes more important than your marriage. Before responding, ask yourself, do I want to be right or do I want us to be closer? Resist the urge to interrupt, simply to correct minor details that do not change the heart of the issue. When you realize your wife has made a valid point, acknowledge it openly instead of quietly ignoring it. Avoid bringing up old victories or past arguments simply to strengthen your position. End disagreements with a shared plan rather than a declared winner. Remember that every conversation should leave your wife feeling valued, not defeated. Small choices like these transform conflict from a battlefield into a workshop where stronger marriages are built. In the next video, we shall be covering law number 9. But as we conclude on the present topic, here is the lesson to always remember. An old Norwegian proverb says, "He who wants to harvest roses must be patient with the thorns." Marriage is filled with beautiful moments. It also contains difficult conversations. The mature husband understands. Those conversations are not opportunities to display superiority. They are opportunities to deepen friendship. Years from now, your wife is unlikely to remember who won a particular argument. She will remember something much more important: whether she felt loved while the two of you disagreed. That memory, not the outcome of the debate, will shape the emotional story of your marriage. The wisest husbands therefore choose a lasting victory, not victory over their wives, victory over their own need to always be right. Now let's have a recap of the laws we've covered so far. You have now journeyed through 8 timeless laws. 1. Master yourself before you master the conversation. 2. Seek understanding before offering solutions. 3. Never turn your wife into the enemy. 4. Choose humility over pride. 5. Protect your wife's dignity through unwavering respect. 6. Understand that the right conversation deserves the right moment. 7. Build trust through unwavering accountability. 8. Value connection above winning. Yet one final habit quietly distinguishes truly exceptional husbands from merely good ones. It is not seen only during conflict. It is practiced every ordinary day. Because the strongest marriages are not repaired only when they are broken. They are strengthened continuously, long before a crisis appears. That is where our journey continues with law number 9. Never stop dating the woman you married. Thank you for watching. If this message resonates with you, please do well to share it with your loved ones. Also, tap on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. We would also appreciate your comments. Thanks for your support. Bye for now.